KCM Wealth Management. Vancouver lawyers Dumel and Boscovich. The Vancouver Courier newspaper. David and Mark Goodman. We're talking about policing. Our guest is Doug MacKay-Dunn. He's a North Van District Councillor, has been, I think, since '99, and 30 years with the Vancouver Police Department. When he retired, he was an inspector, and he retired with great honors, in fact. Look, I threw out some of these dreadful incidents at Dziekanski. You've commented on that, but just tell people, I think a year before that dreadful incident, you had put a proposal before North Van District Council about tasers.
Yes, I was concerned about the fact that the taser is being overused. They're being used as a come-along device as opposed to using one's ability to defuse a situation. The police were beginning to use it too much, in my view.
Yes.
And I just did not believe the stuff that coming out of Taser International, that everything was all right, just trust us.
Yes.
And so I asked the council to support my request to have the RCMP to come to District Council and to brief us on how they operated the tasers, what were the oversights, what were the training, etc., which managed, I got a 4-3 vote. It wasn't a unanimous vote, it was a struggle. The second part of that was I called for a moratorium on the use of tasers.
Did you?
Period, yes.
Well, bless your heart.
That vote failed 6-1, of course, with myself in favor.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was I just did not believe that they were being used properly. And that, see, originally they came in, I was still on the job at the time.
Yeah.
We're going to come in, they're going to take the place of use of deadly force.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Except they turned out to be deadly force.
Yeah, because they were overused.
Yeah.
Right? So, and there was a great resistance. And finally, they say, oh, MacKay-Dunn, he's crazy, he doesn't know what he's talking about, Yeah. And then a year later, a terrible incident.
Dreadful incident.
Yeah.
Okay, now look, one of the inherent problems, we want to talk about what are structural problems. One of the things that the public keeps seeing, and it happened even just yesterday, is that police hurt people, or in some cases kill them, and then their consequences seem minimalized. A small reprimand, 2 days off without pay, or, and so on. Why does that keep happening? Why do the police keep defending themselves or their own people? Shouldn't the police take pride and say, look, we're proud in what we do. This guy screwed up, and we're hitting him with all the force.
All I can tell you this is that there has been some positive changes.
Okay.
Regionally, a few years ago, let's say with the RCMP, or even beyond, earlier than that, the incident in Vancouver would be investigated by Vancouver, period, but nobody else.
That's right.
And then they started bringing in other departments to do the investigation, okay? And it would be forwarded to the Complaints Commissioner for oversight. The RCMP, on the other hand, wouldn't do that, claiming transportation problems, they're far afield. It's not feasible. And my argument always was, well, hell, they got a bloody jet. There's no problem flying people in. You could bring a team in to do it.
Right.
So then they moved, and then they started using other police agencies.
And that's kind of the norm now.
It's become the norm. Now, having said that, the provincial government has talked about expanding the Office of the Complaints Commissioner. And that can be done to put in an investigative arm. Now, the argument is, whoever you hire cannot be a police officer, because he or she may have been tainted with the police culture.
Okay, look, exactly. So can we get to the next step where there's citizen oversight?
Yes.
I mean, we have juries. Juries are 12 of allegedly of your peers. So if one of these dreadful incidents happens, can we not have an ad hoc group?
Let me just tell you exactly how you could do it. First, you must have some academic qualifications. Then you have specific training on how to conduct an investigation. That could be done by the JI or some other agency, so that you're trained up in how to do it properly. And once you've been trained, then you can go out and start to do it. And you do it under the guidance of the police, of the Office of the Public Complaints Commissioner.
There's a Mountie fined $1,500 for Burnaby accident that killed 2 boys. You know, $1,500. 2 boys are dead. You know, and the Mountie apologizes. Yeah.
There's what happens though organizationally within the organization. That Mountie, for example, even
Yes.
though he or she only received a $1,500 fine,
Yes.
Their career within the RCMP is finished.
Really?
Yeah.
You know that?
Oh yes,
They'll just never go anywhere.
that's it. They're finished.
They'll get the sense that I might as well get out of here.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Look, one
The
of the
cops are really internally. They're very hard on themselves.
Yeah.
They do not like, and one thing police officers do not like are bad cops because it reflects on all of them. And it's a matter of pride. So you get some person that's an idiot, you want to get rid of them.
should we have a BC police force?
Absolutely. And because I'll tell you why. In this loose federation of 10 independent states called Canada,
Yes.
the chief law enforcement officer of the province, under the British North America Act, the Attorney General,
Right.
is responsible and accountable for policing within the province. If the agency that's providing policing within the province is not a completely 100% accountable and responsible to the AG, then a change has to be made.
And they're not.
And if they say, we take our direction from Ottawa,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that doesn't work.
And we just signed an extension of what, 20 years or 8 years?
Well, we're in the middle of looking into that. But it comes down to this. Is the argument is that while one level of government, the BC government, can't really audit or investigate another level of government. This is the excuse. I take the position, the British North America Act is quite clear. There's a role for the Attorney General. Canada is a nation of 10 independent states. The police officers have to be accountable and responsible to the community in which they serve. Absolutely.
Now, police departments, whether RCMP or Vancouver City Police, have been described by many people as sort of paramilitary outfits. And they have a sort of Kabbalistic sense. They're like a little private club. And cops talk to cops, and they eat at the same mess hall at the foot of Cambie Street here in Vancouver. Don't you want more and more citizens working with police and in police departments? Why should police learn to do human resources functions or writing checks?
Well, when I was with the Vancouver Police for 6 years, I was in charge of the audit union.
Yeah.
I made that argument. I said, why are you paying a person a police wage,
Yes.
let's say a corporal or a sergeant,
Yes.
when you could put a civilian in there and take that person and put him on the street
Exactly.
where he should be?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're moving towards that. They are moved. And so
Right.
there's more and more civilians doing formerly police positions or police operations. Jim Chu has done a lot of that within the Vancouver Police.
Now, your career, in a way, is both a wonderful thing and also a red flag for this argument. Because as I listed all the wonderful areas that you covered in your 30 years with VPD, but there are people who will argue that's not a good thing. Why didn't Doug MacKay-Dunn just become the greatest expert on working with dogs, or whatever the case may be?
Because that would be, for me, very boring. I'd like to change. I'd like to get involved in a number of things. The things that I enjoyed the most, though,
Yes.
was working with the community. And for that reason, I'll give you an example.
Please.
I go to a community out in the east side.
Yes.
I walk in there and I'm going to tell these people what's wrong with their community because I have the statistics, right?
Yes.
I have the information. They don't know what they're talking about. They're whining and complaining, but I'm going to tell them exactly what the problem is. So I'm explaining to them they've got problems with car theft from autos, break-ins, etc. assaults, that's your problem. They're saying, our problem is racing cars. I said, no, your problem's not racing cars, you idiots. It's the B&Es, this and this and this. Back and forth, back and forth. So finally I said, okay, I'll sign somebody to look at the racing cars.
Yeah.
And I did. You know what happened?
What?
Those racing cars were stolen. And the people who were in the stolen cars were doing the B&Es, the assaults, and everything
So
else.
it turned out you're both right. And
They were right.
Yeah.
But I learned from them
Yeah.
from that point on. Listen to the community.
Of course.
Because they know the community best. So once you have that epiphany,
Yes.
then you change your approach from top down to bottom up.
Yeah.
And you become a catalyst for positive change. And that's what community policing should be about.
Here's a systemic problem. In BC and Quebec, as far as I understand it, we have the only police forces that can't lay charges. Other police forces across the country can lay charges. Only the Crown can lay charges.
Through charge approval.
Yeah, so it kind of slows everything up, ties things up, and
Yes.
stops you from the ability of actually nabbing a bad guy on the street and saying, I'm laying a charge. But on top of that, the Crown here in BC has made the most peculiar statements of late. They are saying, you know, our job isn't to get convictions, we just present the evidence.
That's right.
Well, what kind of an attitude hasn't anybody heard of the Dallas Cowboys, of winning? I thought you're supposed to win these cases.
The other thing, too, is you often hear...
I thought you're supposed to close files, you know?
When that all came in,
Yes.
and then also came in a paper written by the deputy minister of the day about prosecutorial discretion. And that is, if they deem that there's not a substantial likelihood of conviction, they don't
Yeah.
prosecute.
Right.
So what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what that
It
means.
means a lot.
So somebody who accuses you of, let's say, child abuse, right?
Right.
Pretty difficult charge to prove.
Yes.
Right? Okay. But if you go into the supermarket
Yeah.
and walk out with toothpaste,
Yeah.
and they get you on the street, they
Yeah.
charge you with shoplifting. 100% guaranteed conviction rate. So you have the shoplifters for the minor crimes are getting charged.
That's
and
easy.
convicted.
That's easy to do.
Great for the statistics.
Yeah.
But the more serious ones, well, there isn't a substantial likelihood of conviction, so we're not going to handle that.
Quick. We have under a minute. Front page of the Courier newspaper yesterday, methadone clinic wants to move up to the 600 block East Hastings. Every organization in Strathcona says, get lost. Your thoughts?
It was about time they recognized Strathcona as a community and stopped dumping on them.
I love it. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
All right. Great pleasure to talk to Doug MacKay-Dunn. Look, next week, folks, we have had thousands of emails saying, you know, Dave, we love your show. And I say, yeah, but my name isn't Dave. We love your show, but you never do anything outside the city. Wrong again, Bunky. Next week, our guest, Rick Green, the mayor of Langley Township. This big in-house fighting going on there. I'm not sure what it's all about, but Rick sounded very jolly and very confident on the phone. So that's what's coming up next week. Check us out again, davidbernard.com. Thanks so much for being with us here on Shaw Community TV, Cable 4.